What's up, community? Just Jeremy here for another episode of Art of Life Homestead. Today, I'm going to take you into my humble garden. It's 2021. It is nearly May, which is the latest that I have ever had a garden go in. But it's also the latest that our blackberries have ever bloomed. And we have what's called a blackberry winter, which is once the blackberries are almost essentially in full bloom, you can just about bet, well, you can bet that there will be a freeze or very near freeze within a few days of that. And true to form, we had a freeze 4 days ago. So I was reluctant to put anything out until then. Even though the weather felt like I should have had a garden in a month ago, it's been up and down. You know, we had some real nice warm weather, and then there was like a week of felt like fall or even winter a little bit. But I think we're through all that finally. As you can see, the jungle is starting to grow behind me. But I will take you into our garden, which is right here. And this garden has been in existence for 7 years. 2 of those years I directly sowed into it. It was a lot clearer then, a lot less vegetation, but you have to kind of pick your battles here. There's no way I want to or have the time to just keep this clear. Maybe that's a task for the goats. And I keep finding things like this elderberry bush that happens to be growing, was here when we started this whole venture. And we use that elderberry, the elderberries on it we make cough medicine with it. So it's great for all that, and that bush will produce enough berries usually to get us through the whole season. So I don't want to get rid of it, even though it takes up, some good real estate in there. We chose this spot because it had the best looking soil on the entire property. It is the lowest point on the whole plot. And it actually there's water. Well, here, I'll take you down and show you. We have a creek that flows most of the time. Even though it did rain a few days ago, it's not flowing all that heavily now. You can see down through there. Oh, look, there's a dog. One of my dogs in the creek. Big shock. So anyway, this area, even though the soil looks the best, real heavy clay and chert rock. So it just isn't. It needed a lot of amendments, and since there was so much timber, you see these tall pines here. Those are called loblolly pines. They grow really fast. Those trees are 20 to 25 years old, and they were originally planted here for timber production, which we will not be doing anymore. Not on this property unless it's for our own use. So those trees, I cut and turned those logs rather, into my raised beds. That actually came with a bit of a caveat. While it was free and totally useful purposes for them, it does attract fire ants. If you've never dealt with fire ants, well, I want to say I hate them, but I'm trying to learn to work with them, and you will see when I get my fat shadow out of the way. Watch. Oh yeah, there they are. Yep. Those little buggers right there are some of the most ill-tempered, defensive, dare I say mean little creatures that God ever made. And they have this thing where they'll all wait until they get on you before they bite and sting simultaneously. They do both. And it leaves like a whitehead pimple that itches for about a week after they've lit you up. And so since they do it all in one fell swoop, you usually get about 10 plus stings all at once, and it sucks. It makes you angry. And they're in half of my raised beds at least. So I am learning to work around them. And I'm going to tell you what my future plans are for this garden. Anyway, what I've done is I spread compost from our goats and chickens that I broke down in a record amount of time, like 3 months. It was totally usable utilizing this stuff called Compost, which you will see a little bit of here in this jar. That's good for about 2 gallons right there, probably actually about 3 gallons. And really what it is fermented rice water. Look into it, Compost. It puts microbes into the soil, and it is an amazing composter. But anyway, so I spread my compost out on these 4 or 5 beds, and I have some that still needs a couple of weeks yet before I can actually spread it, and that's okay to add to the other 2 beds. This bed I let go fallow, just let it grow, and I'm not going to put anything in it. It needs some amending yet, because I'll do 2 to 3 plantings out of all these beds, and this year it might only be 2. Well, I guess we'll just see. But this stuff, I don't know what it's called. It's crazy though. It's beautiful, but these purple flowers will produce a bean, and I got to pull it before it seeds. Otherwise the stuff gets crazy, and it shoots these little yellow vine things out on it and totally takes over. It outproduced oregano. So if that is any indication of how awesome it grows, it could even choke out oregano, which is a pretty amazing feat. So this bed has carrots, and I do everything from seed direct sown, except for my tomatoes and squash. I've found over the years that I seem to have the best results when I just sow directly. We have a really long growing season here, and things get going fast, and there's rain in the forecast this week, so everything will be popping up. By the time all of that rain is done, I watered everything really good with some Compost water, and I use what's available. So I have pine straw and oak leaves. And I know there's some school of thought out there. It's like, what makes your soil too acidic? Maybe I have found that my soil pH stays slightly acidic no matter what I do. And it could just be that's what it does in this region. So, it is what it is, and it does work. So this guy here is going to be green beans and wax beans. That one behind me will be bell peppers. There's beets in the following. There's going to be greens in that one. I have tomatoes in my red buckets, which seems to be a better way for me. I have very bad luck direct sowing them here. For the simple, there's a lot of blight and blossom end rot problems, and I know that that's a soil issue, which I'm working on. These 2 beds, this bed and this bed, I did 2 years ago. And how I do these is I put cardboard down first, logs about the size of my forearm. I line the whole bottom with some branches and logs, and then I put the best available topsoil, which happened to be all of the topsoil from my mother's house. They pushed theirs off with a bulldozer, which made it very convenient to get this. The best looking soil that we have comes from their place. And so I filled that in mostly with that, and then I mixed in wood ash. I mix in all the weeds, which doesn't look like I've done it, but I actually pulled a crap load of weeds out of here and filled in. And I let that break down a little bit, and then I'll put compost on top of that. And so I'm experimenting. I am not a green thumb gardener yet. I have definitely not earned that, but we're getting there, or we're trying. We still do not produce enough food, to like feed ourselves for the whole season here. But I am in the food service industry, which puts me in contact with farmers markets and farmers directly. So I can sort of make up for that there. And I continue to push the idea because I've realized my own limitation that, we have to network. Self-sufficiency, this notion that you should be able to do everything yourself, that's a kind of a romantic and expensive endeavor. And I mean, we've been homesteading now for 9 years. And while we have not been able to devote every waking moment to it because we have kids, 4 of them, and we still do other things outside of it. We have many social obligations with our kids and family that keeps following us down here. So we still have to find balance and networking with other like-minded folks who are producing things but don't have what we have, or you know are doing things a little bit different. We can learn from them, and we can buy and trade between one another. So in that sense, we have a very rich network. We continue to meet people like us, or even more along the way, are old folks who just know what they're doing in gardens, and I'm not one of those guys yet. So anyway, this is our garden, but I'm going to be probably moving most of this operation up by the house. And part of it is because of this beautiful poplar tree that I just can't cut because I love it. And the other part of it is that I just don't get the sun that I would like to down here because of that poplar tree and because of the blackberries that have taken over my fence line. But I enjoy eating blackberries, and since they come with the place, we have more blackberries than that we could possibly pick or utilize here. And that's with our children. Once they'll pop out here in about a month, and then people do a daily blackberry picking and or stuffing their face with as many blackberries as they feel like eating. So that's pretty awesome. We have a lot of wild blueberries and muscadine grapes all over the place. So nature provides some stuff that is pretty awesome. We all love the muscadines. If you've never had them, they're really sweet and kind of like fermenty, but they're awesome. Once we get some, I'll show you guys. But anyway, we are going to take our garden production and either continue to use this or just expand it up the way here. But I'll show you. So it's going to go up here along. Oh, looks like Marshall has a kitten. I hear it. That's one thing that we're never short of around here, baby somethings. So what we have done is we have cleared this area up here, and this has now been cleared. I cleared it last season, and now it's staying that way. I keep it trimmed with a sickle, which sounds crazy, but it's actually really cool to use, and it's fun even. It's like way better than weed eating. But anyway, I'm going to install taller raised beds in this space here. All right, and we're gonna just row them out and make them one long, more like waist high operation, so you don't have to like bend down into them. And I'm gonna build them the way that Weedy Garden YouTube channel guy does his, and see if we get better results. I've learned so much from watching I think he's only got like 8 or 9 or maybe 10 videos, and he's only been doing it for a year or 2 now, which makes me really jealous, but that's okay. He clearly has a knack for it, and he shoots beautiful videos. He doesn't mind editing, unlike me. I hate the editing process. That's why I'm trying to shoot all these things this way, and so it's going to be a little disjointed and shaky and from one perspective until I get like a lot of free time on my hands and enjoy shooting or editing process. But anyway, this will be our new raised bed area back here, and then as in time, this will expand our orchard operation thanks to the goats. But it hasn't grown up enough yet for me to turn the goats loose right as that is. the goats would eat that in 3 days. It's amazing what they clear and how quickly they do it. So we did just move them about a month ago, and they're really about ready to be moved out into another area. So the ideal situation is actually going to be tying them, and that's something that we're going to work on. Just tie them up and let them do their thing. But as the jungle grows around us, we actually did take a hit in food production this last week, thanks to, I think, a fox or feral dogs or neighbor dogs. I'm not exactly sure, because I have seen dogs that were chasing chickens a few days ago. And then what we've continued to lose, I think we lost 3 or 4 birds. We lost our only duck, which is kind of sad because he was around for a while. And we've lost some laying hens because they are out, and they're very difficult to keep enclosed. And we like ours to free range because they help keep the ticks down. And, just it's nice to have them around. But we're probably going to be fencing those in to avoid this sort of deal. And I guess I'm going to be fox hunting for the next few days, because I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. Is it's a fox. He's bold though, because he shows up like right up front in the right up front of the house, and the dogs bark and chase, but he clearly is a little too sneaky for them. So we'll see if he's sneakier than me. But hey, that's life on the homestead, man. So anyway, that is my garden so far, and the little bit of different operating stuff that we've got going on here. If you would like to share, or like add advice, or tell me something that you think would help me out, or flip me the bird, that's cool too. You could do that in the comments section below. I think I finally figured out now how to keep my comments turned on. So you should have the ability now, moving forward, to do that. If there's something that you would like to see specifically, please, or start a conversation. I like back and forth conversations, constructive ones. And if you like what we're doing, like and subscribe and share it. Otherwise, don't. That's cool too. And we will see you on the next one.